Well, bore da, good morning. As you can see, I'm at Denbigh Castle, Castell Denbigh, and what I'm going to do today is a video, yet another walkabout video, then and now. A lot of you seem to like this type of video, where I have a wander around Denbigh Town, and I'll show you what's there then, or what's there now, and then what was there. If you know what I mean, going back to when I was a child, or even back to the very old days. So yeah, that's and like I say, a lot of you seem to like that type of video. I'll talk about the history. I'll show you some places, you know, the shops. I'll go down that mainly across the high street, and I'll show you what's there now, and I'll sort of explain what was there when I was a child. And even beyond when I was a child, going back probably 200-300 years, something like that, history. So it's a sort of a history walkabout. So anyway, enough of my nattering. So let's get going. Let's head back down to the town of Denbigh, unleash myself, Denbigh Vids /WXPM, and I get some funny looks. Yap into a camera on a busy high street and what have you, but you just get used to it. I think you get used to it, and I think they're used to me now. They probably look and think, oh, here he is, he's back, that Denbigh Vids fella. And also it'll be in a separate video. I'll be popping to the mental, because I'm getting some requests. When you go to the mental, when you go to the mental. So but that'll be a separate video. Anyway, let's head back down into town. Start the history walkabout, then and now, or now and then. So this is heading back from the castle, heading down, and in front of me there is Burgess Gate. Spend a lot of time around here, a lot of time in the castle and the Gwynion. I always remember a lad squeezing through that opening there. He was trying to get in, and he got his head stuck between the bars, got his head stuck, and he had to get the fire brigade here and everything and ease him out. So yeah, this is Burgess Gate, one of the two entrances to the Denbigh Town walls. I'll be heading down this way, starting off where I grew up as a child. Okay, so I'll start from Love Lane. Now Love Lane starts from this building here and upwards. Behind me there is not Love Lane, but I'll explain a bit about that later. But as you can see there's got the sign there, and Love Lane carries on up towards the mental. Go up Love Lane and over the hill. The mental comes into view, but that'll be another video. I'll pop up to the mental after this video. But yeah, so anyway, start off where I grew up as a kid, which is Love Lane. So you can see Love Lane garage there. I used to live up in the flat above. That was my bedroom there. And yeah, my tide, my father, which is your tide, is your grandfather. You don't have grandfathers and grandmothers in Wales. You have a nine and a tide. So that's where I grew up there. And next door is the showroom and the old garage, and then the attic. On the Brit there, that was the paint store of the old Williams brothers, coach builders of high quality. And my tide, my grandfather, worked for Williams brothers, and when they grew old and what have you, and they gave the business to my tide, and that's how we acquired Love Lane garage. They just handed it all over to him. So yeah, as I say, Britannia in there, which is the Brit, that was the paint store, or the paint shop. And then it was Hetty Haywoods. It was a second-hand furniture store. And I used to sneak in there when I was a kid and play hide and seek, hide amongst the furniture. And then Hetty Haywood, one day I was hiding behind something, and she got up and went out and locked the door and went home for an hour for the dinner break, and I was locked in there for an hour. So anyway, that's Swine Market, or Mount Pleasant, its proper name, but we call it swine market. Swine, as in they used to take the pigs to the market. Oh, this was the Futura, but when I was a kid it was the Wedgwood, the old cinema. And when it was the Futura, Lewis Colwell and then Peter Moore took it over. I think he rented it, he didn't own it, and he was always standing by here. They called him the Man in Black, and he was a serial killer, killed four people, and he's been banged away for life. He'll be never let out. So that's the old Futura, and I'll show you now the oldest building in Denbigh, which you can see just a bit of the stonework there on the edge. That's not the original part of it, it's just the end bit they've kept there on that gable end. If I get a bit nearer you'll see the different coloured stonework. If I zoom in, hopefully. Don't know if you can see the different stonework. And it was cut away, see there, that's solid rock. It was built on solid rock, but you see the edge there, it's a different colour. That's not the original, but that is part of the original, this gable end. I have covered a lot of these, what I'm going to talk about today, and I've got dates and stuff like that, but off the top of my head. But if you're interested, have a look. So that's the oldest building in Denbigh, or what's left of it, just this gable end. As I say, that's not the original, but this is built on solid rock, as you can see there. And here was Anne Owen's, which was general store, like a grocer's and stuff like that, which is there. And the door used to go in, it was here. That was the door there, and you'd walk in, and the first thing you'd smell was the coffee. Absolutely, they used to have beans, you know, and they used to crush the beans and stuff like that. But that was Anne Owen's, and I'll give you a bit of a clue. The old sign's still there, which I'll show you now. Get a bit further, I'm heading now down. This is Highgate, by the way, as I mentioned before. Just checking that I'm still on record. Where we go? There's Highgate, you see. From the High Street, you've got Highgate up until what was the old Rudy's, Rudy Fox. And a lot of people think that Rudy's, the sweet shop and tobacconist, that it was his shop and his business, but it wasn't. It was his wife, May. She owned it, but it was mainly Rudy up behind the counter. But yeah, anyway, I'll show you there. Arrowin, see the old signs still there. Grocers, corn, flour, provision, merchants. So yeah, and you can see the beam there. They must have lowered the sacks and things from there, that door, and down onto the wagons. But yeah, as I say, it wasn't Rudy's. He didn't own it. So now I'm heading down onto the High Street. So this is where I'll start to get the funny looks. But who cares? Right, so we'll start with, firstly, that's the High Street, which is here, leading up from Vale Street onto the High Street. Now if you ask a lot of people, what's this road called, from the High Street, like getting hooted at you know, I get recognised a lot now. Someone just hooted me, and he just waved. Yeah, so anyway, what's this road called? All the way down to Lenton Pool, and you'll get a majority, quite busy today, will say, oh, it's Bridge Street, but it's not. Bridge Street is the lower half, and I'll show you now. A lot of people think it's the whole street is called Bridge Street, but if I show you there, this top half, see, it's Portland Place. Portland Place down to just the other side of the Plough, which is the pub there. That's Portland Place, and then it becomes Bridge Street. It's called Bridge Street because there was actually a bridge going across the road. And here, this was Bod Idris, which was a butcher's, and over the road was Dewhurst's. So I think then the kebab shop there was Dewhurst, and that was a butcher's. I've never seen it so busy on Saturday. Try and get across the road, I do all my own stunts. Yeah, Dewhurst, that's Bod Idris, and that was Dewhurst. And here, Mr. Bevan, that was Woolies, Woolworths. And there, that place there, that was Mathers, Bill Mathers, which was a news agent. You right? Yeah, that was a news agent. And That was, where was it now, I think? That one there, that was Mary on Davis. Used to sell all farming stuff and clothing and stuff. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was a butcher's as well. It's all go here. Yeah, that was a butcher's. And that place there, on a Sunday morning, when I was a little kid, I used to go and used to get Sunday papers from there. And that, that was Harry TikTok. There, that place there. He used to be a clockmaker and repairer and stuff like that. And I reckon if you went in there, all you'd hear is tick-tock, tick-tock and all that. And they called him Harry TikTok. So that's his place there. Not sure what that was. On the end there, that was the Gem. I'm not sure whether it was called the Little Gem or just the Gem. And that was a new, I don't think, well, it was a tobacconist and sweet shop, but I don't think they sold papers, I don't remember anyway. But it was called the Gem. And here was Cawthree's. Cawthree's, a shoe shop and repair. And there was Arnold's. It's still a fish and chip shop, but it was called Arnold's. Not sure what this one was, as I say, that was Dewhurst. And I'll just keep checking if I'm on record. Yeah, this was Dewhurst. And that was Board Idris. And that was Bill Mathers. He used to sell newspapers and stuff, and this was Woolies. But that's not the original location of Bevan's. I'll show you the original location where he first came to Denbigh. And here was Parker's. Parker's fish shop. Geoffrey Parker. And this was the Leopard Inn. I talked about that pretty recently. It was the old Leopard Inn, which moved from the Vale Street. And here, Corbett's. That was Middleton's. That was a newsagent. And I was a paper boy for the news, that newsagent, Middleton's. And here was Millwoods, I think it was called Millwoods, which was a bakery and bread. You used to walk in there. The first thing you'd smell was the bread getting baked and stuff. And this place here now, this Mayflower, that was a fish and chip shop. And it was called Nino's or Lino's. We used to call it Nino's, but some people called it Lino's, but anyway, that was a fish and chip shop. And here was electrical, oh, was it called now? Electrical shop anyway. But there was a house here, originally here, big building, a big, about 3 or 4 story house, and it went on fire. I'm going back years and years now, and it burnt down, and they built this building on it. But it was something electrics, so can't place it now. Something electrics anyway. And that was yeah, that was the electrical shop there. That was the first shop in Denbigh that you could rent videos. Yes, videos in them day. And this shop, Clwyd, as you can see there, timber framed. That's the oldest timber framed shop in Wales. I'm not sure what it dates back to, but I think that was Peacocks. Peacocks or somewhere along here. And the old saying was, if Peacocks don't sell it, then you can't. It's not for sale, because the Peacocks sell everything. Now where was the Forum? Here. That was the Forum. I'm sure it was there, which was a restaurant, and it's also the Chinese restaurant. You guarantee it was either Friday or Saturday night there'd be a mass brawl in there. So that was, and then it went to the Forum, but I think it's just empty now. But that was the old Chinese, and somewhere along here, I think here, this one here was the Free Press office, where you could buy photos, anything you see in the Free Press, and you used to display them in the windows. Not sure about here. Free Press was somewhere along here. Could be that one or that one, but it was somewhere along here. And this one in the end here, this Monopoly, going back years now, it was Dick's, but I remember it as a shoe shop. Big shoe shop that was there. So that's one side of the high street. I'll show you the back row as well, but there's the Angel. It's a war memorial, but that's not the original location of the Angel. They moved it, and I remember the original, and I remember them moving it as well. It was, I'll show you that's where it is now, but between here, it was right in the centre. So but they just moved it to one side. I remember the big crane But anyway, I'll show you back row a bit later. So let's cross over. Actually, I'll do it from here. It's a bit wider here to show you can see in the distance there. Right, so there, next to the post office, I zoom in. Oh, there, the library, that was an old market. Used to have on a certain day, I can't remember what day, used to have market stalls inside there. It's just a concrete floor and an old wooden door. And that was the market, and just peeping through there, that's Guildhall Tavern, but that was the Bull Hotel. And just on the end, you have to bear with me because with my sunglasses on, actually I might cross the road. It was Thomas's anyway, next door to the post office, and there was a gentleman's outfitters, which is Thomas's. Hang on, I'll zoom in anyway. I'll stay on this side. It should be in the centre of the shot now. That's Thomas's, and then you got the post office and Royals, and this North Clwyd Animal Rescue there. That was Foster's. That's a clothes shop. And next door to the animal rescue, as you can see there, it's got the co-op, absolutely massive building. But today, it's the co-op. That was a cinema, going back years and years now. As I say, don't quote me on dates because I don't know actually, but it was a cinema, and then it was Burgess, massive. You can see the size of it. It was a massive toy shop. I remember it as a kid. I remember it as Burgess, the toy shop, but I don't remember it as a cinema. But it was a cinema. And St Kentigern's, not sure what that was. But next door there, you got, it was Holland and Barrett. It's closed now. That's been shut quite a while now. But that was the Fresh Food Centre, it was called. And it was split. It had the fruit and veg one side, the butchers the other side. And it was called the Fresh Food Centre, but there were always, the health and safety were always in there. Oh, you got to clean this up, and they almost closed it down, and they had to shut and do this and that, and because of health and safety and stuff. And ironically, it was called the Fresh Food Centre. As I say, it was split. Had the fruit and veg. I'm sure the fruit and veg was that side, and the butchers was that side. And this is here, there. That's where Mr. Bevan. That was the original location of Mr. Bevan. But years before Mr. Bevan arrived on the scene, there was an old timber-framed house there, and I remember that well as a kid. And it was where that is now, between these two buildings here, and it was propped up. It was propped up like 3 or 4 massive beams, and they were. If you search out some old photos, you'll see it on it. They were coming across, and you could still walk past it, but you could walk under the beams. So it was literally propped up with beams, as I say. And it knocked down, and then that was built. But Mr. Bevan moved in there. But as I say, where Mr. Bevan is now was the old Woolies. So further along, you got Boots the chemist. There, that was, oh, what's it called? Oh, I can't. Timothy White's. That's it. Timothy White's was there. I remember that. Like hardware store and that. That was Timothy White's, and then it's now Boots, and opposite Boots, somewhere, I'll show you a bit across here, somewhere across here, like here, somewhere there, was a water pump, and that was there before the houses at Denbigh had running water, and people used to come with their containers, they used to pump water, but it wasn't that clear. But that's where the pump was. There was a few pumps and wells dotted around Denbigh, but on the high street here, roughly there, as I say, there was a water pump. And the old vaults, just give us a hoot there now. The old vaults was the old vaults. And next door, you see the barbers there. That was a newsagent. Don't remember what it was called. But I used to run there I can't remember when it was now, every Wednesday or something like that, for a football echo. You've got the Liverpool Echo, which is a white paper, the Football Echo, which is a pink paper. And that's where I used to go, and sometimes I'd get a bit extra money. I used to get a nice lolly. So yeah, and I used to run back. And that, where are we? That one there, that Quick Cash, that was Keepfers. That was a jeweller's. Keepfers, Keepfers. These, I'm not sure, I don't remember. There was Threshers. and before that it was Irwin's, and then after came Tesco. There was an actual Tesco there, and yeah, like I say, this shop here, Middleton's, there was a paper boy there, and I'll show you the Halifax. Yeah, that was there, was Irwin's. It was an old pub as well, then it became Irwin's, and then Tesco, and then Threshers, and it's now Sense. And the old Halifax, which was the Star shop, which is very similar to Ann Owen's. It's to sell all groceries and stuff like that, and coffee. And that's the entrance there, but as you can see, they kept the old glass sign at the top there. The old Star shop, alright. The old Star, that's the original, but the rest of it, well, probably similar. And that there was a pub there. That's the Druid Buildings, which is Evan Jones. And it's called the Druid Buildings because there was a pub there called the Druid Inn. And just up there was the stables around the back, where you could stable your horse and then go in for a few pints, or tankards, isn't it? And yeah, that was the Druid Inn, and today it's called the Druid Buildings. But you can see here, this part here, that was the newsagent. Evan Jones took it over and they knocked through, but it was originally a newsagent, and there was also a paper boy for that newsagent as well. And the bloke that owned it, if you remember Bernard Bresslaw on the Carry On films, he was this double. He was the image of Bernard Bresslaw. But I can't remember what that newsagent was called. A bit quieter now. But yeah, right, I'll go ahead down the back row. I'll show you some things down there now. As I say, it gets funny. And this part here, it's one of the narrowest lanes in Denbigh. It's called Lawn Rosemary, as you can see there, but it's Rosemary Lane. Lawn is lane in Welsh, and it's called Rosemary Lane because they used to take the cattle to and from the market, and to freshen it up after they'd gone through, they used to sprinkle rosemary. But anyway, this is the back row, which contains two pubs next door to each other, the Golden and the White. You don't often see that, do you? And you'll see the back of the bookshop. You can see there, it's the oldest shop in Wales. See the old timber frame. As I say, I have done these videos before, and I don't know the dates off the top of my head. And this was a second-hand clothes shop, and then it was a butcher's, originally a butcher's. Just have all the game all hanging on the outside there, all along the top there, and all around the door. Just have all the pheasants and rabbits and stuff hanging down. And here on my right, that was a fish and chip shop. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a fish and chip shop. The frontage looks pretty similar. And when we used to have lock-ins in the Brit, which I showed you earlier, the Britannia Inn, and we'd phone an order in. It'd be about 12 o'clock, midnight, and these used to stay open for us. And the lock-in, I'm talking a lock-in, there'd be 20, 30 people in there. That's in the days when, you know, pubs were actually busy. And we'd chip together, you know, you'd go then, they'd get it all, they'd phone up and say when all the fish and chips and sausage and chips and all that were all ready. And 10 o'clock. And yeah, you'd come across town and they'd open up and you'd be walking back. It'd be midnight or 12:30 at night. You'd be walking across town with about 2 or 3 carrier bags full of fish and chips. Those were the days, eh? So yeah, this is the back row, and here was one of the Mellards, the ironmongers, and there was the old fire station. Above it, the town hall, where it was originally the old fire station. Yeah, there was 3 Mellards. There was one there, and there was one here, and there was one just round the corner there. But they were ironmongers. Fella looking at me there. And here, this one especially, Mellard himself, I can't think of his first name now, but Mellard himself used to be in there, and he used to have the Arkwright jacket on, the other brown, and you'd go in and I think a little bell used to ring or something, there'd be no sign of him, and then you close the door and you turn around and he'd be there, where he used to appear from, I had no idea. And he used to follow you around. He used to follow you around the store. But yeah, that was Mellad. As I say, I can't remember his first name. And here was a little newsagent and tobacconist. And the door to get in was there. And it was so narrow in there, you'd get about 3 people in there, and you'd be like this, you'd be squashed. It was that small. And here, which is the optometrists, Alton Murphy, that was the Geggin, or its full name is the Geggin Vach. Geggin Vach means little kitchen, and it was like a tea bar type of thing and stuff like that. You'd go there and get your tea and your coffee, and if you ever wanted any gossip or hanes, as we say in Wales, if you wanted any gossip, go to the Geggin. They all used to be gossiping, and you get all the hanes and all that. So that was the Geggin. So yeah, that's about it, I think. It's about what I've covered. Yeah, that was the Mellards, one of the 3 Mellards. There was Travel Sport. Gerald Molden, so have it. Travel Sport. Yeah, so that's it. I think I've just about covered everything. So I hope you enjoyed this historic walkabout of Denbigh Town. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again.